Sandra Avila Beltran, a convicted drug trafficker, is back in her native Mexico after being deported from the United States.
August 10th, 2012. A private jet landed quietly on a Mexican runway, its precious cargo shielded from prying eyes. Sandra Avila Beltran, a woman whose name strikes both fear and fascination across the continent. She stepped onto Mexican soil, not as a free woman, but as a queen dethroned. Yet even as federal authorities took her into custody, she walked with a composure that spoke volumes. Here are 5 most brutal cartel wives of all time.
La que quedó libre anticipadamente fue Rosalinda González. Anoche salió de la cárcel la esposa de Nemesio Ceguera Cervantes el Mencho, líder del Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación. Aquí vemos esta imagen.
February 27th, 2025. The security cameras at Ceferezo 16 in Morelos captured a moment that would send shockwaves through Mexico's law enforcement community. Rosalinda González Valencia, known to authorities as La Jefa, walked out of prison free after serving only half of her 5-year sentence for money laundering. Rosalinda was the financial brain behind one of Mexico's most powerful criminal organizations, and the wife of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho. That release marked a turning point in the ongoing battle against organized crime and exposed the legal complexities surrounding high-profile cartel figures. Her arrest sent shockwaves through Mexico's criminal underworld. But to truly understand why her capture mattered, we need to go back to her beginnings in Aguililla, Michoacán, a region that would have become ground zero for one of Mexico's most powerful cartels. Rosalinda was born into the González Valencia family, later known as Los Quines, a clan that started with humble avocado farming, but quickly turned to more lucrative crops. By the 1970s, the family was deeply involved in marijuana and opium poppy cultivation, with shipments flowing north to the United States. This was a family business in the purest sense, with at least 18 siblings involved in various aspects of the operation.
Rosalinda González Valencia resuelve el 23 de mayo de 2018 por oral intervención en el hecho que señala como delito de delincuencia organizada.
Her first marriage was to Armando Valencia Cornelio, leader of the Cartel del Milenio. That connection alone would have placed her near the top of Mexico's criminal hierarchy. But it was her second marriage, to Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, that would change the course of organized crime in Mexico. Together, Rosalinda and El Mencho would forge an alliance between the González Valencia family and the emerging CJNG. This fusion of power created an organization that would challenge the established cartels and ultimately become one of the most powerful criminal groups in the world. But Rosalinda wasn't just a figurehead. According to the Mexican government, she managed the CJNG's financial operations, overseeing more than 70 businesses that laundered millions of dollars in drug proceeds. Her role was so crucial that authorities considered her nearly equal in power to her husband. Her first arrest came in May 2018, outside a 7-Eleven in an upscale Zapopan neighborhood. The operation was surgical, no shots fired, no resistance. But even in custody, Rosalinda remained defiant. In court, she claimed she was merely a successful businesswoman, targeted because of her husband's activities. Her defense was carefully constructed, emphasizing her legitimate business interests and downplaying any connection to criminal activity. The legal battle that followed was complex and high stakes. Although initially charged with organized crime involvement and money laundering, a judge dismissed the most serious charges due to lack of direct evidence. She was granted bail after paying 1.5 million pesos, about $78,000, and released from prison while her trial continued. It was a controversial decision that highlighted the challenges of prosecuting high-ranking cartel figures. But freedom would not last. In November 2021, authorities arrested her again in Zapopan, claiming she had violated the conditions of her release. This time, the charges stuck. By December 2023, she was convicted for failing to disclose suspicious transactions at a car wash she owned in Puerto Vallarta, a 5-year sentence that should have kept her behind bars until 2028. Yet by February 27, 2025, surveillance cameras captured her walking out of prison, free after just 2.5 years. The official reason? Good behavior and serving half her sentence. But the real story was far more complex. Rosalinda's release raises critical questions about the effectiveness of Mexico's justice system in dealing with powerful cartel figures. It exposed the legal mechanisms that allow early release for those with the right connections and resources. And it sent a clear message about the ongoing struggle between law enforcement and organized crime in Mexico. But to truly grasp the scale of Rosalinda's operation, we need to examine the financial empire she built. From 2015 to 2016 alone, authorities allege she laundered over 1 billion pesos, more than $50 million, through a complex network of businesses. These included healthcare, tourism, hospitality, retail, consulting, agriculture, advertising, real estate, and international trade companies. Her financial acumen was matched only by her ruthlessness. According to journalist Raimundo Riva Palacio, Rosalinda was more violent than El Mencho himself. He recounted how she allegedly ordered the assassination of a judge who sentenced her son, Ruben El Menchito Oseguera Gonzalez, to prison. But perhaps Rosalinda's greatest strength was her ability to blend a legitimate business with illegal enterprise. Her companies operated in plain sight, often providing real services while simultaneously laundering millions in drug profits. This duality made her operations difficult to prosecute and nearly impossible to dismantle completely. Her influence extended far beyond business. As La Jefa, she wielded enormous power within the CJNG structure. Her word carried weight, and her decisions shaped the direction of one of Mexico's most dangerous criminal organizations. But power came at a price. With her capture, the Mexican government struck a significant blow against the CJNG's financial structure. Her arrest created a leadership vacuum that El Mencho now struggles to fill. Yet despite her criminal empire, Rosalinda always maintained her innocence. But the evidence told a different story. The sheer scale of her operations, 73 companies, millions laundered, and direct links to cartel activities, painted a picture of a woman deeply embedded in organized crime. Her story is not just about drugs and money. It's about power, family, and the complex web of relationships that define modern organized crime in Mexico. As the legal battles continue, one thing remains clear. Rosalinda Gonzalez Valencia changed the face of organized crime in Mexico forever. Her influence extended far beyond family ties, proving that power can operate quietly. The next woman used charm and visibility, stepping into danger without ever hiding in the shadows.
31-year-old Emma Aspiro, a dual citizen of both the U.S. and Mexico, was arrested yesterday at Dulles International Airport just outside D.C. She's accused of helping El Chapo run his multi-billion-dollar drug cartel, as well as helping him plot his escape from a Mexican prison.
February 22, 2021. Authorities at Dulles International Airport arrested a woman who, until that moment, had lived her life between runway lights and cartel shadows. That morning, the double life of Emma Coronel Aispuro, once a beauty queen, now accused of being a cartel conspirator, finally unraveled. She thought she was untouchable. She was wrong. Emma Coronel Aispuro was born in July 1989 in San Francisco, California. Her childhood split between the United States and the rugged mountains of Durango, Mexico, set the stage for a life that would balance two worlds. Raised by Inez Coronel Barrera, a cattle rancher and mid-level Sinaloa cartel operative, Emma grew up surrounded by the wealth, violence, and strict codes of the criminal underworld. Yet her early years also included American schooling, creating a dual identity that would shape her future. Not by 17, Emma entered the Coffee and Guava Festival beauty pageant in Canelas, Durango. The event attracted attention from powerful men, but none more significant than Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, Mexico's most wanted drug lord. According to legend, The notorious kingpin traveled specifically to meet the striking beauty queen. Their connection was immediate. By July 2007, her 18th birthday, they were married despite a 30-year age gap. Suddenly, Emma was thrust from small-town pageantry to the throne of cartel royalty. Her marriage to El Chapo brought immense wealth and privilege, but also constant surveillance, danger, and responsibility. She gave birth to twin daughters in California, strategically ensuring their U.S. citizenship. Yet despite her attempts to maintain a low profile, she quickly became a central figure in the Sinaloa cartel's complex operations. Emma's role was far from ceremonial. U.S. prosecutors would later reveal she served as a critical liaison between El Chapo and his associates. After his arrest in 2014, she relayed messages about cartel business, managed logistics, and even coordinated his dramatic 2015 prison escape. The evidence showed she helped move drug proceeds to finance the construction of a secret tunnel, smuggled a GPS-enabled watch into prison, and purchased property near the facility to facilitate the escape. Court documents detailed thousands of kilograms of cocaine, methamphetamine, and heroin trafficked under her watch. Text messages between Emma and El Chapo, introduced as evidence, showed the casual intersection of domestic life and deadly business. In one exchange, El Chapo mentioned killing rivals, to which Emma replied, "That's great, honey. Do we need milk?" These chilling communications revealed her comfort with cartel violence and her deep involvement in its daily operations. After El Chapo's final capture and extradition to the United States, Emma embraced a new role as the cartel's public face. She attended court almost daily during his trial, always impeccably dressed, often wearing matching outfits with her husband as a show of unity. Her glamorous appearance earned nicknames like Narco Barbie and Cartel Kardashian, but it was a calculated display of loyalty as much as a fashion statement. Behind the scenes, Emma maintained contact with other cartel wives and members, acting as a stabilizing force during uncertain times. She managed the family's finances, protected her children, and maintained the appearance of normalcy amidst chaos. But the walls were closing in. By February 2021, federal agents arrested her at Dulles International Airport in Virginia, ending her reign as cartel queen. The indictment was clear: conspiracy to unlawfully import and distribute drugs, money laundering, and transacting business with a designated foreign narcotics trafficker. With overwhelming evidence, including cooperating witnesses and intercepted communications, Emma faced up to 14 years in prison. Instead, she took a plea deal. On June 10, 2021, Emma pleaded guilty to 3 counts in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. She admitted to her role in the cartel, the prison escape, and money laundering activities. In court, she addressed the judge through an interpreter, expressing remorse and begging not to be separated from her daughters.
"I hope you raise your twins in a different environment than you've experienced to date,"
Judge Rudolph Contreras told her, acknowledging her background and the unique circumstances of her life. Despite federal sentencing guidelines calling for a much longer term, the judge handed down a 3-year sentence, later reduced to 31 months, followed by 4 years of supervised release. She served her sentence at the Federal Medical Center in Carswell, Texas, an institution known for housing high-profile female inmates. During her incarceration, Emma maintained contact with her children and carefully managed her public image. Speculation about her cooperation with authorities grew, especially given the light sentence and her willingness to forfeit $1.5 million in cartel assets.
The wife of the infamous Mexican drug lord known as El Chapo was released from federal custody today.
Upon release in September 2023, Emma entered 4 years of strict supervised release. The conditions are severe. Federal agents can search her person, home, vehicles, electronics, and social media at any time without a warrant. Legal experts call the restrictions unusually onerous, suggesting the government still views her as a potential threat or asset.
Coronel, a former teenage beauty pageant queen in Mexico, was freed with 4 years of court supervision. But these newly filed restrictions put a hard crimp on her freedom, requiring now that she submit to a search at any time without a warrant by any law enforcement.
Her journey from beauty queen to cartel queenpin through luxury and violence ends in constant surveillance and lost freedom. The woman who once moved millions in cartel profits now lives under the watchful eye of the same government she once defied. The world watched as the queen of the Sinaloa cartel exchanged her crown for an inmate number and learned that even in the narco world, every empire eventually falls. She stood beside one of the most feared leaders, helping operations from the inside. The next woman built her own image, becoming a public figure despite deep criminal links.
She's dubbed the Queen of the Pacific. Sandra Avila Beltran is Mexico's most infamous female drug trafficker.
Sandra Avila Beltran didn't just inherit a criminal empire, she built her own. Born October 16, 1960 in Tijuana, she grew up surrounded by the power and violence of the Guadalajara cartel. Her family ties run deep. Her uncle Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo was the infamous godfather of Mexican drug trafficking, and her father's side connected directly to Rafael Caro Quintero, another foundational figure in cartel history. From a young age, Sandra was immersed in cartel culture. By 13, she'd already witnessed shootouts and learned the business from her father. He taught her that corruption wasn't limited to drug trafficking, but extended through every level of Mexican society, a lesson that would serve her well in the years to come. Her education ended abruptly after a kidnapping by a jealous boyfriend, a traumatic introduction to the dangers of cartel life. Forced to abandon her legitimate aspirations, she plunged into the drug trade, quickly rising through the ranks using her family connections and strategic alliances. Sandra's marriages were both tactical and tragic. She married 2 ex-police commanders who turned to trafficking, and both eventually assassinated. Her relationships with Mexican and Colombian cartel bosses, including Amado Carrillo Fuentes of the Juarez cartel and Colombian chief Orlando Henao Montoya, weren't just romantic. They were business moves that cemented her power across international lines. Sandra's true genius was her ability to bridge worlds. She became the crucial link between the Sinaloa cartel and Colombia's Norte del Valle cartel, controlling major cocaine routes from South America through Mexico to the United States. Her operations ran through Manzanillo, a major Pacific port, and extended across North America. The Queen of the Pacific wasn't just about drugs. She was about power and luxury. By the late 1990s, Sandra's wealth included 225 villas and apartments, a fleet of private jets, and a lifestyle that rivaled royalty. Her parties were legendary, sometimes ending in violence, always attended by the elite of both criminal and legitimate worlds. Her notoriety grew through narco corridos, folk songs that both celebrated and exposed her criminal empire. The fame was a double-edged sword. While it solidified her legendary status, it also drew unwanted attention from law enforcement and rival cartels. Sandra's downfall began with a mother's desperation. In 2002, her teenage son was kidnapped for a $5 million ransom. Forced to seek law enforcement help, she exposed herself to investigation, setting off a chain of events that would take years to unfold. It took 4 years and a team of 30 federal agents to finally bring her down. On September 28, 2007, she was arrested in Mexico City alongside her last known partner, Colombian drug lord Juan Diego Espinoza Ramirez, who remains behind bars. Even in prison, Sandra's power was evident. She received unauthorized privileges, including restaurant food and even Botox treatments, until authorities caught on and stripped her of special treatment. Her legal battles crossed borders.
She'll be charged with using illicit funds, but has just served time in a US prison for helping her drug trafficker ex-boyfriend evade arrest.
After serving 5 years in Mexican prison, she was extradited to the United States in 2012, where she served a 70-month sentence. Upon release in 2013, she was immediately deported back to Mexico to face additional charges, ultimately spending 7 years in prison.
No descansas. Estás cambiándote constantemente de ciudad, de casa. No puedes tener amistades, no puedes ver a tu familia. Es algo.
Sandra's story isn't just about drugs and violence. It's about power, loyalty, and survival in a world where women rarely lead and even more rarely survive. She broke through the cartel world's glass ceiling with diamond-studded fists, inspiring pop culture, telenovelas, and music.
Yo culpable no, porque nunca le he hecho yo daño a nadie. Remordimiento tampoco, porque yo no he hecho nunca mal. Dolor sí, porque he perdido muchos amigos.
Today, Sandra Avila Beltran lives free in Guadalajara, a living legend who changed the rules of cartel power. Her story, both cautionary tale and celebration of female empowerment, continues to fascinate and terrify those who understand the true cost of the Queen of the Pacific's reign. Her reputation traveled across borders, blending luxury with trafficking. But the next woman would choose violence over image, relying on fear rather than influence to remain protected.
La suerte de la señora terminó con ella tras las rejas desde el 15 de septiembre del 2016, sin que su fama...
September 12, 2016. A former beauty queen from Sonora, known as La Señora, sat behind bars, ending her reign as one of Mexico's most feared cartel leaders. But how did a celebrated pageant winner transform into a ruthless drug lord who terrorized Guerrero? Clara Elena Labarín started her life far from the world of organized crime. Born in Agua Prieta, Sonora, she was celebrated as Miss Sonora in her youth. This beauty queen's path to infamy began when she married Héctor Beltrán Leiva, a rising force in the Mexican drug trade. The union brought her into a world of unimaginable wealth, social status, and ultimately, violence. Labarín's life changed dramatically after her marriage. She dreamed of belonging to the high society circles of Sonora and wanted everyone to know she had money. The lavish lifestyle she enjoyed was fueled by illicit business, which quickly became her new reality. But this was just the beginning of Clara Elena's transformation from beauty queen to criminal queenpin. Héctor Beltrán Leiva was one of the most powerful drug lords of the 1990s. Clara Elena's marriage to him marked her entry into the dark world of organized crime. Their union was more than romantic. It was a strategic alliance that would eventually propel her to the top of a criminal empire. But this rise to power came with a steep price. As the years went by, Labarín's role in the cartel grew. While she was initially seen as a trophy wife, she gradually became involved in the organization's operations. Her intelligence and ambition set her apart from other cartel wives. Clara Elena wasn't content with being in the background. She wanted to be recognized as a force to be reckoned with. In the early 2000s, the Beltrán Leiva organization began to fracture. When Héctor was captured in October 2014, many believed it was the end of the cartel. But Clara Elena had other plans. Instead of fading into obscurity, she seized control of the organization. Her leadership marked a new and brutal era for the cartel. Labarín's reign was defined by violence and ambition. She wasn't just maintaining her husband's legacy, she was building her own. Under her command, the cartel expanded its operations and forged dangerous alliances. Her nickname, La Señora, became synonymous with terror in Guerrero and Sonora. The once glamorous beauty queen was now a feared criminal leader. Clara Elena's leadership style was ruthless. She financed criminal cells to fight for control of strategic territories. Her influence was felt across multiple states, and her cartel became one of the main sources of violence in the region. Labarín's ambition knew no bounds. She wanted to restore the cartel's former glory at any cost. But her actions drew the attention of both rivals and law enforcement. In April 2010, she was kidnapped by an armed group. While she was released shortly after, the message was clear: her enemies were watching. Despite the warning, Clara Elena pressed on, determined to maintain her grip on power. Labarín's intelligence and ability to forge alliances kept her in control for years. She partnered with powerful figures and expanded the cartel's reach. Her operations were sophisticated, and she used legitimate businesses as fronts for money laundering. The most notable was a luxury spa in Acapulco, which became a hub for the cartel's activities. Despite her success, Clara Elena's downfall was inevitable. The violence she unleashed couldn't go unchecked forever. In September 2016, her luck ran out. She was captured by federal police in Hermosillo, ending her reign as one of Mexico's most powerful female criminals. Labarin's arrest marked the end of an era for the Beltran Leyva organization. Her leadership had kept the cartel alive after her husband's capture, but it came at a tremendous cost. Even behind bars, Clara Elena Labarin remains a symbol of how far ambition can drive someone. From beauty queen to cartel leader, her story is a stark reminder of the dark path that power and greed can lead to. Her legacy is one of violence, terror, and the high price of criminal ambition. Her leadership relied on intimidation rather than loyalty, proving violence could sustain control. But another woman would demonstrate how calculated decisions can shape cartel activity from behind the scenes.
Ignacia Jasso fue pionera del tráfico de drogas en nuestro país. Esta mujer se convirtió en la reina de la frontera la noche en que mandó asesinar a 11 inmigrantes chinos en las calles de Juárez.
April 1943. The Supreme Court of Mexico finally made its move. Ignacia Jasso, better known as La Nacha, entered the Islas Marias prison. But her reign as the first true cartel queen had already changed everything about border drug trafficking. La Nacha's story began in the dusty streets of Ciudad Juárez during the 1920s. She wasn't born into power, she seized it. Jasso and her husband Pablo González El Pablote ran a small-time drug operation, but under her direction it became the dominant force on the border, controlling marijuana, morphine, and heroin between Mexico and the United States. What set La Nacha apart wasn't just her business acumen, it was her capacity for calculated violence. She made history the night she ordered the execution of 11 Chinese immigrants who controlled much of the local drug trade. That massacre didn't just eliminate her competition, it marked the birth of what became modern cartel violence. That night changed everything. The Juárez drug market, once dominated by Asian immigrants, now belonged to La Nacha. She demonstrated that absolute power required absolute ruthlessness, a lesson that still echoes in modern cartel warfare. But Jasso's empire wasn't built on violence alone. She understood the importance of alliances and protection. Working closely with local authorities, she learned how to control not just the drug trade, but the very systems meant to stop it. Bribery and intimidation became as important as territory and firepower. By the 1930s, Jasso's influence reached deep into both sides of the border. She supplied morphine and heroin to American soldiers, tourists, and addicts from Texas to California. Her network of picaderos, shooting galleries, innovated the way drugs were distributed and consumed. Every modern cartel owes a debt to her business genius. Her husband's death in 1930 could have ended it all. But Jasso didn't crumble. Instead, she expanded her operations and secured protection from high-ranking military officials. The cartel survived and thrived because of her leadership. Her leadership style was unique. Jasso maintained strict discipline within her organization. She rewarded loyalty and punished betrayal with surgical precision. Her ability to blend generosity with terror kept her empire stable for decades. But as the war years approached, pressure from both sides of the border intensified. American authorities, led by Harry Anslinger of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, demanded her extradition. The Mexican government, facing its own internal struggles, finally acted. April 1943, the Supreme Court ruled against her. La Nacha entered Islas Marias prison, but her empire didn't collapse. Instead, her children took over operations while she served time. The cartel remained strong, adapting to new markets and changing drug demands. Even in prison, Jasso maintained control. Her influence reached far beyond the prison walls. When she finally emerged, she shifted operations to Guadalajara, taking a more strategic role. Her family continued to run Juárez, expanding into new territories and products. By the 1960s, her grandson, El Arabe, became one of the most wanted men in the United States. The family business had evolved from morphine and heroin to marijuana and cocaine. Jasso's innovations in distribution and protection became standard practice for every cartel that followed. Her true genius lay in understanding the importance of adaptability. Jasso constantly changed suppliers, routes, and methods. She built redundancy into her network, ensuring that no single arrest or betrayal could bring down the whole operation. But perhaps her greatest legacy was the model she created, a blueprint for cartel organization that endures today. She pioneered methods for infiltrating law enforcement, bribing officials, and maintaining discipline. Every modern cartel uses tactics she invented. La Nacha's story isn't just about violence and drugs. It's about survival in a world designed to crush women who dared to wield power. She outlived almost every rival, dying in 1982 at over 80 years old. Her children and grandchildren continued her work, turning her criminal enterprise into a multi-generational dynasty. These women were more than partners. They shaped operations, controlled networks, and altered cartel history from behind closed doors. Their stories show that influence in the criminal world can be silent, strategic, and brutally effective.